Fiction Podcast, where we chat about all things Christian fiction. I'm your host, author, and insatiable reader, Shatona Havoc. And guys, we have back with us. I have been waiting for this because she's just like the greatest. And here she is. So welcome back, Becca Wierwille. She has more Scout and Barnaby for us and a Kickstarter and all the fun stuff. So you got to listen now because this thing is almost over, guys. Woohoo!
Yeah, we've only got 48 hours left, depending on when you're listening to this. But Shatona, thank you so much for having me back on the show. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Okay, guys. So if you haven't listened to the other episodes about Scout and Barnaby, I will tell you to go listen to it. But you got to listen today because, again, Kickstarter, and I love Becca's Kickstarter. She does the best videos on why to use Kickstarter. But to save you time and to do everything, I'm going to beg Becca, can you tell people why Kickstarter?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who aren't familiar with Kickstarter, it's basically a way for creators, including authors, to fund a project by offering exclusive rewards to anyone who backs that project. And there are different reward levels to choose from. And then you're not charged unless the campaign meets its funding goal. So for example, for this campaign, my goal was $3,000 to cover an initial print run for 3 new books in the Scout and Barnaby Mysteries. If we did not make $3,000, then no one's cards would have been charged, no rewards would have gone through. But since we have already hit that, and actually some fun stretch goals, which I can talk about too if you'd like, Shatona, since we've already made it there, then those rewards are going to go through. So basically, it's functioning at this point like a pre-order campaign. But the reason that I like to do Kickstarter specifically, it's a really fun way to connect directly with families, with readers. If someone buys a book on Amazon, I don't know who they are. I'm not sure who bought it. I have no way of connecting with them. When someone buys through the campaign, I can sign the book to them. They can send me a message. I've gotten so many messages from backers who have told me about their kids who have read the first books in the series and are so excited for these next ones. And then there's really fun rewards, like you get to get your copies early. Through this campaign, I am planning to have copies delivered this year, but the books aren't actually releasing until next year. So you're getting them early. You could choose rewards like getting your dog's picture on the dedication page for one of the books. There are all sorts of, just fun, unique things. And it's also helping me cover some of my publishing costs up front. So that means I can print and market my book more effectively, which is really, really helpful. So I get the money ahead of time, and then I can use that to pay for the print run, and then I can deliver the books to the Kickstarter backers first.
I love it. I love it so much. So, guys, I first met Becca when she was doing her road trip.
Yeah, you got it. Road Trip Rescue.
Okay, because I'm like, wait a minute, because that's the name of the book. Is it also the name of the series?
It is, yeah, because Road Trip Rescue started as that first book, and then it just happens to become a series. So I was like, okay, I'll just call it the Road Trip Rescue series.
Well, and it fits. Then that's where I got all jumbled because I'm like, wait a minute, because it fits the whole series. But that's the name of the. I was really confused, and this should not surprise anyone. I have not been awake for very long. Okay. So, you got to do what you got to do. But yes, the Road Trip Rescue series, which I absolutely loved and made actually a big feature in one of my books because I'm like, why not? And Shatona and her craziness, right? And then that's staunchly middle grade, faith-filled, awesome books. But then she came out with the Scout and Barnaby's, which are like lower middle grade, or would you call them an early reader?
Yeah, I describe them as a bridge between chapter books and middle grade. So it's kind of like that step up for readers who are done with like the easy short chapter books, but they're not quite ready to open up a middle grade novel and just be like overwhelmed by a full novel with no pictures. So these stories have like about 5 illustrations per book. They've got more white space. They've got larger margins, larger font. They're shorter, so they're approximately 15,000 words each. And so trying to reach those emerging readers, or at least readers who are still gaining that confidence.
I love it. I love it so much. Also, guys, I don't know how I missed this. Or I shouldn't say missed. I think I knew this now the more I think about it, but my brain is like really clicking. There's audiobooks too. So like you're on a road trip you got it, especially if you've got that kid that gets car sick if they read. That breaks my heart for people.
Yeah. The
Anyway,
audiobooks are
but
great too. Talon David is my audiobook narrator. She does a fabulous job. And that's another fun thing about Kickstarter is the levels in my campaign are mostly bundles and they're actually really good deals and include the audiobooks, and they are Yodo friendly for families who might use Yodo players because you actually have access to the MP3 files. So if you use a Yodo player or a similar audio player, you actually can use those files. And so that is definitely a perk as well because audiobooks are fun.
yes, audio. Well, I think they're underrated. People are really want literate kids who can read and be strong readers, and I get that. I think that's really important. But there's also that really important, read aloud thing that does wonderful things in people's brains. We were wired for story. We were wired to be storytellers and hearers, and the way that we hear word cadence and pronunciation, even all those things comes through audio. So I mean, I think audio is really important, and I wish we did more audio younger, not to take away the physical reading, but just like have more of both, so that when you get to be 25, 35, 45, however old you are, when you decide that you want to listen to audiobooks and your brain doesn't work that way anymore. Yeah, I think we would be giving our kids an extra edge to be able to concentrate if they learned it really
I
young.
agree. They pair so nicely together too. I've had a lot of families who have readers who are struggling or maybe dyslexic or dealing with some other thing like that, a learning challenge, that have found it really useful to be able to read the book alongside the audiobook. So to be able to have both parts of the brain working at once to better follow along and track with the text as they're learning.
I love it so much. Okay. So, for those who are not familiar with Scout and Barnaby, what is this series and what are readers going to find
I'm
in
so
here?
glad you asked. So, the Scout and Barnaby Mysteries are funny, heartwarming Christian chapter books. I usually say they're written for ages about 6 to 10. Age 6 is probably going to be a family read aloud. I have had kids as young as 4 and 5 enjoy them as a family read aloud. And they are lightly illustrated, like I mentioned. They star a girl named Scout and her unusually perceptive dog named Barnaby, and they team up to solve mysteries together at a Christian wilderness camp using her love of big words and his super sniffer. In the first book in the series, when the story opens, Barnaby, the dog, eats Scout's dictionary, and after that, he can understand words. So the books go back and forth between the girl's perspective and the dog's perspective as they solve mysteries together.
I love it so much. They're so much fun. I love what you do really good things with humor. Sometimes authors make humor for kids just kind of the Abbott and Costello slapstick, a bit hokey. And you don't do that. You treat children as intelligent beings without like making it inaccessible to them, where it's that super dry British humor that half the Americans can't get, right? I mean, you don't go that far, but you treat them as intelligent beings and you give them humor that is not just, pie in the
Yeah,
face.
my hope is that as kids are enjoying it and laughing along, that also their grown-ups can be, because so many of my readers, they're reading it as families and they are enjoying it together, and it gives them something shared that they can laugh together about and they can talk about later, and they can try to think if they can figure out what the solution is to the mystery before Scout and Barnaby can figure it out. So I do hope that the humor can be appealing to a variety of ages. And yeah, kids deserve good storytelling.
Exactly. I think too often we kind of dumb things down for kids because we know that we need to write to children. And so instead of writing to how kids think, we write as if they don't think.
Mm.
It's not, I'm not really proud of saying that because but I've seen too much of it. And it's the kind of stuff that, I would read it and I would like, no, we're not taking this one. No, we're not taking this one. Because I'm like, I don't want to insult my kids,
Yeah,
you
a
know?
lot of over explaining, or I believe we've talked about this before when I've been on Shatona, but stories that tend to be really preachy, where it's really clear that the author is just
Yeah.
trying to teach some sort of moral lesson to the kids who are reading. And I do hope that kids take away something from my stories, but my goal is that they can have a really fun adventure. And then also that parents can trust the values that are in the story, that it's written from a Christian worldview. So, yes, the characters always take something away from it in the end. The Scout and Barnaby Mysteries each have a theme verse that a Scout comes to learn something through the stories. And these 3 books in particular, Scout comes to see that God makes her brave, and she can be brave because of him, and she can be a detective with integrity because God is so good. So they are learning things, but the stories themselves, they don't feel like little sermons, they feel like fun adventures. And I think that's really important too.
I absolutely agree. I mean, if a kid comes to a parent and wants to understand some piece of theology, sitting down and just talking about that piece of theology is absolutely a brilliant thing. Let's do this. But if a kid wants to sit down and read a story, they don't want to be whipped over the head with a 2x4 of theology.
Mhm.
It's kind of giving them a bait and switch, and nobody likes that. And I love a good sermon, don't get me wrong. I'm looking for them all the
Mhm.
time, but if I'm looking for a good reading adventure, I don't want the sermon, I want the adventure. And if I learn something along the way, all the better. I want to learn things along the way. I just don't want a bait and switch. And I think I'm just bitter because I just got done with a book that it's the story of Rosabelle Shaw. It's a very old book. Nobody's going to have hurt feelers about it, but the book is not about Rosabelle Shaw. It is about someone else, and part of the story is that effect on her. But it's not until the last third to quarter of the somewhere in there of the book that we actually get her story. And I got a bait and switch, and I feel like we do that with kids, and you know moralistic stories that aren't stories that have good morals, but they are there to shove the morals down their kids' face. They're just like, wait a minute, I wanted to know about a kid and a dog. I didn't want to know about how horrible a person I am unless I am this way.
Yeah.
You know
And it
I
goes back
mean?
to, yeah, kids are smart. They can see what you're doing, and they're
Right.
probably going to put the book down, or at the very least not read the next one in the series if that's what it feels like you're doing to them.
Right. Yeah. I just love that you don't do that. It makes me very, very happy because kids learn great lessons in these books. The Road Trip Redemption has some really deep Road Trip Redemption. That's the last book, guys. The Road Trip Rescue series. I'm having trouble today. Anyway, the Road Trip Rescue series. There's some really deep, serious, like issues and conflicts and everything that are being dealt with in these books in ways that teach kids how to handle this stuff, how to handle forgiveness, how to handle just difficult things. I'm trying not to give stuff away, but it's done in a way that it doesn't feel preachy. It doesn't feel like let's here is what you are to learn. Now I will wrap that in a sort of a kind of a story so that maybe you'll choke it down, like sugar and
Yeah.
medicine, you know.
Yeah, that was definitely my goal in that series too. I'd say the Scout and Barney mysteries are probably a little bit more lighthearted, like lighthearted, funny mysteries,
Yeah.
and they are geared a little bit younger. Though I will say there is a really good bundle deal on the Kickstarter campaign to get all the books. Like if you haven't read the Road Trip Rescue series, you can get that series plus all of the Scout and Barnaby mysteries. But with the Scout and Barnaby mysteries too, I do want to show these characters have flaws. They make mistakes, and then we can see that they are learning from their mistakes. And especially in a mystery, we've almost always got some sort of villain at the end. And so there's something to be learned
Right.
through that and through the mistakes that the villain made, and realizing that, we can make different decisions in our own lives to have different outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the first three books, where did this dog come from? And then the next one, it's like, what's going on at midnight? All the, you know, interesting things happening at night that maybe shouldn't
Uh-huh.
be, right? And the third one, you had, basically, was it a like a duct tape dress
Yes.
that they
Yeah,
were
it was
doing?
a duct tape dress that a counselor had made, a camp counselor, and it disappeared. And in its absence, there was just a mess of duct tape all over the place. They had to figure out what happened to this dress.
Right. So we've got those. And if you want to learn more about each one of those guys, that episode is already linked. I've done it. But what kind of mysteries are we getting in this next 3 books in this series?
So book 4 is the case of the ice cream incident. So here we have ice cream story.
Yes.
Fun fact, without even realizing it at first, now I do it intentionally. I do include ice cream, at least in some capacity, in all of my stories so far. But this one is actually in the title. So in this one, Scout is helping at the snack shop at the camp for the week. But when she shows up for her first day as an ice cream scooper, there is melted ice cream just covering the floor. The freezers that are supposed to be holding all the ice cream, it's been emptied. And so she and Barnaby have to try to figure out who the ice cream criminal is. But then the clues start actually pointing to Barnaby himself, which creates some extra tension as Scout worries that she might lose him before the summer ends. So that's the 4th book.
No, save Barnaby, save Barnaby. Oh,
yeah. And to give a little bit of background for those of you who are new to the series, Barnaby, so he showed up in book 1 and he is now, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, but he is now allowed to stay at camp with Scout, but only through the end of the summer. So at the end of the summer, she is supposed to still, they want to find him a new home. So he's not supposed to be at camp permanently, but you'll have to read the next 3 books to see, what happens with that.
Okay.
Yes.
What happens with Scout?
In book 5, we've got more food, but it's blueberries this time. So it's the case of the blueberry bandit. And in this story, Scout is actually a camper again. So even though she lives at camp full time with her parents, once in a while, it's her age group at the wilderness camp. So she gets to participate. And it's the season for wild blueberries. So Scout and her tent mates are trying to pick enough blueberries for the camp cook to make them one of his fabulous blueberry pies. And they have almost enough blueberries picked, and then the blueberries disappear right out of their bucket. And then there's all sorts of other strange blueberry pranks, incidents going on around camp. So they have to figure out what's going on. And when clues start to lead them in a direction they didn't expect, Scout has to decide if pursuing the truth is worth maybe hurting a friend.
Ooh. All right. Okay, I have to say, my dog, Toothless, bless him, he would probably make himself sick. That dog loves blueberries. Absolutely loves them.
Yeah.
I don't even know if dogs are supposed to eat them, but once in a while, one of my frozen blueberries will hit the floor and he is on
It's
it.
okay
Man.
for dogs to eat blueberries, I think. I mean, fact check me on that if you're listening and you're going to start feeding your dog a couple blueberries. But I think I looked that up because before Barnaby eats things, I like to check to make sure they're not toxic.
Minor things like killing the
There
dog.
Was, what my editor caught one thing in one of the first 3 books. I can't remember what it was, but Barnaby was sneaking some kind of snack, and she commented, she's like, "I'm not sure dogs are supposed to eat that." Yeah, that would.
That's good to know. That's good to know. I'll have to check. But yeah, I just bless him. He really my other dog won't touch it. Doesn't even want to look at it.
That's hilarious. It's funny how dogs have their preferences. We had a dog that would eat corn on the cob and like really eat it. Like he'd eat across the row and then he would turn it with his paw and he would eat across the row very neatly until every kernel was totally gone. I'm not sure if dogs are supposed to eat corn, but he would like just take it out of the field and eat it. So
that is funny. I love it.
And then the 6th book is not food related. It's the case of the whitewater woes. And so Scout gets to go on a whitewater rafting trip with a group of older campers. So she wouldn't normally get to go on this trip, but they needed a couple of extra rafters. But right after their raft launches, the raft sinks and they find some suspicious tears in the raft. So they have to figure out who sabotaged this trip before the trip is totally canceled.
Ooh. Oh boy. Okay. This sounds like so much fun. I love it so much. And yes, blueberries are completely safe and actually very healthy and good for dogs.
Oh, good. Good.
I just had to know. It was like bugging me then. You know how you get fixated? Well,
no, I do too.
Anyway,
now I'm wondering about the corn on the cob. I'm like, maybe we shouldn't have said that my dog used to eat corn on the cob. That was probably not good.
Well, I'm sure they put corn in dry kibble. I'm sure they do.
Probably. I would think so. And he was, yeah, I'm sure he ate things he shouldn't have. He was very much a farm dog. So who knows what he ate? I'm sure he ate things we didn't even know about half the time.
Right, exactly. Yes, it's perfectly fine to eat the kernels off the
Oh,
cob, but
good. No,
not
he
the
didn't eat the
cob.
cob.
The cob itself
Oh,
is
wow.
dangerous.
I didn't know that, but he did not eat the cob for sure.
Yeah. I have a feeling most dogs wouldn't try because it would be really hard to actually chew through and get it
Yeah.
down. So unless you've got one of those dogs that literally bolts everything without chewing at all, I don't think you're going to have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to make sure that if Barnaby ever has corn on the cob in these stories that he does not eat the cob. Because that would be something he would do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, exactly. Can you just see Scout sitting there being told you got to watch him as soon as he's done with the corn part,
Yeah.
take that cob, and then they're wrestling over the cob. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can just see this
for
happening.
sure.
So much
New
fun. So
story
much fun.
idea.
Oh, I love it. See, there you go. Because let's face it, near the end of summer is when corn would be done growing.
Yeah, I have a group of beta readers that I call story scouts that have been helping with this series. And I told them that if they have ideas for the next books or ideas for scenes, I'm always happy to hear them. And the same goes for any of you listening. If your kids are reading the books and if they have ideas, I am always open to hearing them. And right now in particular, I don't have, at this point with the first 3 books, I was already starting to write the next 3. But right now I'm taking a little bit of a break from Scout and Barnaby. We are expecting a baby here in September, so very soon. So I'm kind of trying to wrap up some projects. So in the meantime, it's a great time to be able to hear from readers and see what they think and see if they have other ideas.
I love it. I love it. And congratulations
Thank
on
you.
baby. I recommend the 8th. Just because an absolutely brilliant child of mine was born on the 8th, Although, on the other hand, this is the kid that was the 9th baby born in the 9th month on the 8th day.
Oh, my.
How could she do this to me? So, on the other hand, maybe you should just, skip that one. My 6th child did that, too. 6th child, 6th month, 8th day. What is it with day 8?
Yeah,
Anyway.
I don't know. That's funny.
It's crazy. I know. Well, life is grand, and then all the fun things. So we are getting more Scout and Barnaby.
I would like to have more Scout and Barnaby. Yes. So my thought is probably that I'll publish something else before I do more Scout and Barnaby. Kind of take a little bit of a break and maybe publish something that is more geared toward the 8 to 12 age group that Road Trip Rescue was. So more of like a solid middle grade again. And then jump back into Scout and Barnaby and maybe kind of alternate just because I like to keep things fresh and try new things. And I think then I'll be able to come back to Scout and Barnaby with a fresher mind. So that's kind of my thought at this point, though I don't have any firm plans right now.
So, and do you have ideas for middle grade?
I do. I have lots of ideas for middle grade. So it's a matter of figuring out where I want to go first. I have a lot of manuscripts that are finished that I had written before I wrote Road Trip Rescue that would need a lot of work, but I think have potential with rewriting. But then there's also a lot of other ideas that just keep coming into my brain. And so those are a little captivating, very captivating. And I always like to think of ways too, like even the Scout and Barnaby Mysteries, I brought Kimmy in. So Kimmy is the main character of Road Trip Rescue.
Ooh,
and she came in just as a camp counselor. And so it would have been after several years after Road Trip Rescue. She's older in these books because she's a camp counselor. She does show up in an illustration in book 6, which is fun. She is the rafting guide in Scout's raft that goes under. But I love bringing characters together like that. So I think it would be fun to do some kind of middle grade story, but still kind of bring in a couple of characters, maybe even more background characters. So I don't know. I'm not sure where I'm going next, but I have a lot of ideas.
Lots and lots of fun stuff. So, okay, for listeners who are going, wait a minute, I don't have much time. What would you say that they should do as far as this Kickstarter? Where do they need to go? And what if they miss it? Then what?
Oh, good questions. Okay. So first of all, if you're listening to this before Thursday, July 23rd at 5 p.m. Eastern, That's when the campaign ends. So if you're listening to it before then, you're still able to go to the campaign page and order the books from there. You can find that a couple different ways. If you go to my website, which is just my name, Becca Wierwille, that's WIERWILLE, BeccaWierwille.com. Right on my homepage, there's a link to the Kickstarter campaign, so you can find it from there. You can also go to Kickstarter.com and just search for Scout and Barnaby in the search window. I will say that just so you're aware, not all of the projects on Kickstarter are family friendly or adhere to Christian values. So just be aware you might see some things you don't want to see or wouldn't be interested in if you go that route.
It's also
perfect. In the show notes. That's probably the easiest way. So you can go over to the Kickstarter page and then you can, there's a video at the top if you want to hear more from me. There's a whole page with like more information about Kickstarter and each of the books and all of that. But you can scroll through the different reward options. So I'd recommend going a couple different ways depending on where you're at. If you've read books 1 to 3, if you're familiar with those books, if your kids have already read them, then the most popular reward level would be the new signed paperbacks. So that is books 4 to 6, and it is $50 for the 3 new paperbacks, ebooks, and audiobooks, which is a really great deal. That's like a $90 value, and so that's where I would go for that. If you're new to the series, there's also a really great bundle for the full series signed paperbacks. $85, you get all 6 paperbacks, ebooks, and audiobooks. And that's actually a discount on what you could get them on retailers later because they're $15 each at retail price, which would be $90. So you're getting it cheaper, plus you're getting the ebooks and audiobooks. So those are probably the first 2 places. I had mentioned there's also a level called the Full Bookshelf that has the Road Trip Rescue series in if you wanted to grab those right away too. So you can check out those reward levels. And then all you have to do is you click, there's a button that says pledge. You can add on anything you want if there's like extra books you want or anything like that. And then you can pledge. And after the campaign ends on Thursday, then your card will be charged and I will get to work on getting your books to you. I am hoping to get them sent to the printer soon after the campaign ends once the funds come through and I'm able to use those. It usually takes just a couple of weeks for those funds to process after the campaign ends. So that's what I'd say if you're listening before Thursday, July 23rd at 5 p.m. Eastern. If you're listening after, my recommendation would be to go to my website, again, BeccaWierwille.com, sign up for my email newsletter, and that's going to be the way that you can find out first when the books are available, and that will be in 2027 that the books will be releasing. Probably book 4 in January, book 5 in February, and book 6 in March. And then in the meantime, you could, of course, buy books 1 to 3, and those are available on my website if you want to buy them from me directly. But also, you can download a free ebook or audiobook of book 1, The Case of the Four-Legged Friend. You can download that when you sign up for my email list. And that is a really great way to just give the series a try to make sure it's something that your family's interested in.
I love it. Okay. So why don't you tell them what these stretch goal things are real quick?
Yeah. So stretch goals are something that they're like extra goals that once the campaign meets its initial funding goal, they're fun extras for backers. And we have been able to meet 4 stretch goals so far in this campaign, which is super exciting. So the stretch goals that we've hit so far, the first one that we got was bookmarks. So that means that anyone who backs at a physical reward level, which just means if you're getting one of the reward levels that actually involves like paperback books, not the digital levels. Anyone who backs at a physical reward level will also get a new Scout and Barnaby bookmark. We also got stickers, so same thing there. If you're getting a paperback set, then you'll get stickers. And then anyone who backs at the $15 ebooks level, which would be the 3 new ebooks, and that's the cheapest level for this campaign. So anyone who does that level or above will be invited to attend a 1-hour virtual author visit with their family. It has a family writing workshop component. So I'm super excited about that. And then also they will receive a printable coloring book with coloring pages of all the illustrations from the books. And right now we are currently less than $200 away from our 5th stretch goal. So if we reach $5,500, there will also be a devotional ebook. And I'm really excited about this. It's a surprise project I've been working on behind the scenes called The Case of the Concussed Cucumber. And it's an Evangeline egg whistle novel. Well, it's an Evangeline Egwissel story devotional, and that name won't mean anything to you unless you have read the first 3 Scout and Barnaby books. But basically, Evangeline Egwissel is a hedgehog detective, and it is Scout's favorite fictional series. And so I've had a couple of readers who've said, oh, it would be so fun if there were Evangeline Egwissel books. So I decided to do not a typical book. It's short, but it's a 10-chapter mystery where it's part fictional mystery and part devotional. So each chapter has a devotion that goes with it. And it features Evangeline and her hamster sidekick, Harvey Hollandaise. So that'll be coming if we reach $5,500.
I love it so much. I'm so excited. Okay. So when obviously you want kids to have a fun reading adventure, you want them to start thinking critically. What that's the great thing about mysteries is it critically is probably the wrong word, but actually think through patterns and puzzles and things. That's a little bit more like it. That's the point of a mystery, all the fun stuff. But if little readers could walk away and say, I learned this from Scout or Barnaby. Doesn't have to be either one. What would you want them to say?
Such a good question. I mentioned that these 3 books in particular, this 4 to 6, I felt like the central theme was kind of that God helps us to be brave. And Scout has to deal with some situations that really scare her. Like she's investigating a mystery and she's afraid that Barnaby, her dog, is going to be the culprit at the end of it. Or in book 5, she realizes that the person she is suspecting of the crime, if she actually accuses that person, she's going to really upset her best friend. So she's in these really tough situations, but God helps her be brave. God walks with her through that. And she sees God's goodness through all of these situations and through how things progress. So I hope that young readers can see that they can be brave through the daily challenges of life and that God is with them no matter what happens. So that would be my core thing for these 3 books. And then just in my books in general, I really want kids to see that they are wonderfully created for the unique adventures in their lives. I guess we haven't talked about this because it's not as relevant as like for Road Trip Rescue, but I was born missing half of my right arm. And so I was born different. And that's something I talk a lot about with kids when I do school visits and other things is I would not choose to have been born differently. Even if I could wake up tomorrow with 2 arms, I wouldn't choose that. 1, because the arm would just get in my way, but 2, because God has created me this way for a reason. And there is a lot of purpose in that. And I'm able to have conversations I wouldn't have otherwise. So I hope readers can see both Scout and Barnaby's unique giftings and see that God has given them gifts as well and made them unique for the adventures that are in their own lives.
I love it. I love it so much. Oh my goodness. Well, Becca, this is always fun. Always fun. And I'm just so glad that we get more Scout and Barnaby and that we get more older middle grade too. That's coming. I love that. And I can't wait to find out where you take that one. I mean, my brain is going a million miles a minute going, what's she going to do?
Mine too, Shatona, mine too. Like, okay, this is not what I need to be thinking about right now. I need to be focused on the Kickstarter campaign. But of course, this week, like yesterday, I got a new story idea. So I'm jotting down notes in my phone and at the same time shaking my head at myself thinking, when do you think you're going to do this?
That's the story of my life. I swear I get a new idea every day. I got another one last night and I mentioned it to my friend. She was like, Shatona, you're writing 3 books right now. You don't have time for another. And I'm like, yeah,
but I have to. I have the idea.
Oh, it's such a good idea too. I can't stand it. Anyway, here comes the rain.
Good.
Guys, we have to have a moment to celebrate that it is raining.
Yes,
on my birthday.
I was going to say, and to celebrate Shatona's birthday, I wish I had like a little party popper or something that I could play and, I don't know, do a fun sound effect on here. Or if I could sing, I'd sing to you, but I can't. I won't do that to your listeners.
I love it so much. Oh my goodness. So, guys, you need to sign up for the newsletter. I mean, come on, the first one, you get that. You want that. You got to know. So, that's in the show notes, all the things, and don't miss out on her Kickstarter. So far, I think I have made it to all of the Kickstarters, although I almost missed this one. I don't know how I didn't see it, but one of your team said, "Hey, have you done this yet?" And I went, "What?" So thanks out to Bethany. So appreciate you for telling me. So I got mine in, but they're just, and you do Kickstarter so well. Can I just say you
Thank
do it
you,
so well?
Shatona. And I'm so grateful you've been part of all of them. Your support and your encouragement means so much to me. I really appreciate it.
I love it so much. So guys, have a good day. Go read these books. And they're I mean, you've got the first 3 waiting and they're available, and you've got audio and you've got ebook and you've got physical. Doesn't matter how you want it, you've got it. And don't miss the Kickstarter campaign if you listen to this in time. And if you missed the campaign, well, there's still her website and she will let you know when they're available. So you know, it'll be great. Meanwhile, I'll be over here just cackling with mine and my hands going, no, just kidding, I won't. And so whatever it was, thanks for coming back. I so
Thank
appreciate
you again for having me, Shatona. I really appreciate it and hope you enjoy the rest of your birthday and the rain.
I'm going to. It's going to be great. All right, guys. See you next time.